Well, let me do the welcome. Let me welcome everybody to HBCU Coaches Corner. My name is Rocky. I'm your co-host, along with the featured host. My man, hey, Coach, we got a better quarterback than you on this show tonight, so I'm not going to even go through that one night in Mississippi introduction. Coach, Coach, I think he put his stats up against yours. He might got you, Coach. I know you was a bad man at TSU, but we got a legend, HBCU legend coming, Coach. So look like that froze him up. Anyway, but with no further ado, my main man, Johnnie Cole. Look like Coach Cole froze up on me over there. He will be back. Well, all right, just in time, man. That's my fault, Campbell. That's my fault. And I was introducing Coach Cole and mentioned that we had a swag quarterback that was better than him on the show tonight, and he logged off. Coach looked like he just shut his whole computer down and got out of here on us. But like I say, the show must go on. I know Coach is coming back. Hey, you back, Coach?
Man, look, the show, when you said all that, something better than me, the show went off. The quarterback gods came down, Coach. You know, and just said we were just in a different era, baby.
All right, Coach. With no further ado, I know he's a very busy man with a very tight schedule. And I know he's a very good friend of yours, and I want to give you the opportunity to do the introduction tonight.
Man, I just really always read up, and Doug Williams is the reason why I played football in the SWAC. You know, he was the first African-American quarterback that I seen actually play on television. And I just really found out that I'm born August the 4th, and he's born August the 9th. So we sitting both at Leo's. Well, he grew up in Zachary, Louisiana. Against his playing career was with Tampa Bay. Everybody know Oklahoma, Arizona Outlaws. He also played with the Washington Redskins, where he actually took them to the Super Bowl. Now, his coaching profession, once he finished playing, he started coaching at Point Coupee Central High School. And then he went on to Northeastern, and then he coached at the Navy Shipment at running back coach. He went on to Scottish Canmore overseas. Then he came back and coached in Morehouse. And, of course, where he established himself was at Grambling. He took over at Eddie Robinson, where he won 2 national championships there, 2000, 2001, HBCU. His career highlights was
Did he go out on you, Campbell, too?
Yep, he's gone.
Well, with no further ado, we're gonna bring up what do you remember what Super Bowl that was? It 27?
Ooh. As you see, I got in the background.
Yeah. The only Super Bowl MVP we've ever had on this show, none other than the legend himself, Doug Williams.
How y'all doing, man?
Hey, Coach Williams, I would like to thank you for joining us today. We have our SWAC historian here, Mr. Campbell. He's very familiar with what all you were able to achieve as well. For me, I'm a lifelong NFL football fan, somebody who has admired you ever since you were first-round draft pick for Tampa Bay, and it's a pleasure to have you on tonight.
No, it's my pleasure to be on here, man. It's
well,
good.
You know, one thing I gotta say, Coach, I gotta keep on going down with your accolades. At one time, Doug Williams was the only black quarterback in the NFL. The only. Now we got 16 starters in the NFL, which is 32, man. A tribute to this man, which is an HBCU man. I want to let everybody know that, Doug, because sometimes, you know, we don't get our flowers. We don't get our flowers. And one time, Doug and Evan Williams I think he played with the Bears, right, Coach?
You talking about
Vince Evans.
Vince Evans. I'm sorry,
yeah,
Vince Evans. Y'all was the only two black quarterbacks start and played against each other also in the NFL.
You're right.
So a lot of times, man, Doug, of course, you know better than anybody. You've been around longer than I have. That the untruths and the things where they talk about HBCU and what we mean to not just college football, but also the NFL as well. Not started with you, but you were able to carry the torch to another level, man. And I just want to make sure I give you your flowers above board. But, hey, Coach, I'm glad you came on tonight. You are the better quarterback than me. And so I know you're going to give me.
Opinion, John. That's a matter of opinion. You know that.
One of the things that we be talking about on here, man, is the quarterback play in the conference. I know you're now executive with the Washington Commanders. I know your schedule is full, but one thing about Doug Williams, I want our viewers to know. And Doug, we've had over 2 million viewers, just in 1 year. Wow. And I want them to know as much as about you as they know about Nick Saban or anybody else that have took a snap or coached a game.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Coach, I guess I wanted to come out and ask, what role or did you play a role in getting this sensational quarterback, or do you play a role now? Do y'all talk with getting this sensational Daniels kid?
You talking about the kid that we had here in Washington?
Yes.
Well, Jaden and I. It's funny that you asked that, because when we was in the room doing scouting and trying to find out, what quarterback is what, I didn't say a word, but I knew Jaden in 2018, and we was going over all the quarterbacks, and at the end of the day, it was about 5, I think it was 6 of them at the time, and when consensus came along, everybody was for Jaden. So when we drafted Jaden, the general manager walked up to me and say, "Why didn't you tell me that you knew Jaden?" And I said, "Well, we was in that discussion. I didn't want to cause no bias or anything. We're gonna pick the guy we thought was the best player." And just so happened it was Jaden Daniels, man. And it's been a great for me, great for the whole organization to have him around, because it's hard to get a kid like that, man. Not so much as playing, but the individual himself, the guy who he really is, the person.
Yeah. Now, Coach, you are one of the executives. Exactly what is your role in the Washington Commanders operation?
I'm kind of like personnel, but my role is during draft time, and even like now, they got 2 college games up under their belt. I've started looking at the top 15 quarterbacks in the country. So my job is, at the end of the day, when we go and we talk about players, they got guys on the road scouting them, don't get me wrong, but I just watch film, all the film and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, when it's time to talk about drafting and stuff like that, I just give them my tape on the top 15 quarterbacks in the league. And they give me a list of the guys that they want me to watch. And I start watching them, even during the season, like right now. When I'm not on the field with practice, I'm in the room watching tape and trying to get a feel for all the guys that are out there. I started the day watching the great Arch Manning today. And, I do him. I get about 5 games on him and all the guys that are out there that are coming out supposedly this year.
Yeah. I don't know. Now, Coach, I know you kind of talk, behind closed doors and, about, the HBCUs and, Coach, all of a sudden now it's everybody, I'm not saying everybody go to, but the 2 quarterback system. I don't really believe in the 2 quarterback system. I believe the quarterback handles the ball 100% of the time. But now when you're looking in HBCU sports, in HBCU, we've always had top quarterbacks, always. Right. From your years to my years to the early 90s. It seems like we've got away from that. We got the body kid now that's from Alabama State that's raising, he's doing a lot of great things. I think the kid over at John C. Smith is doing some good things over there. But it just ain't that HBCU quarterback that's one of the top in the country. Now you sitting back and looking. I know you still watch HBCU football. What you think about that?
Well, it's unfortunate. The guys that back in the day, Johnny, when you and myself was in the SWAC, a lot of the other schools didn't worry about us because we was at the HBCU. So, they can't play anyway. That was their mentality. But I think now they see guys that, quarterbacks now, like you said earlier, we got 16 black quarterbacks starting the National Football League this weekend. So it tells you one thing, they're out there. So therefore, the ones that usually go to the HBCUs are not going anymore because even the lowly Division Ones and the one double A's, whoever, coming scooping them guys up and bringing them in their school, and it's hard to find them now. The kid over at Alabama State, I checked his stats out the last 2 weeks, and they say I think he's a junior from my understanding. And at the end of the day, we all got to be real. The chance of him being back at Alabama State, I hope it doesn't happen. But somebody gonna come and steal that kid, man, the way he plays the game. And if that happens, you can't say nothing about it because the kids get rewarded. But at the end of the day, it's hard to find a guy that come up through the HBCU as a quarterback. And the two quarterback system, I'm not a fan of that either. I want one guy and a guy behind him if something happened to him to handle the football.
Right. Well, we're talking about Andrew Body. I mean, he's we kind of identified him last year as he's that guy. He's him in black college football. My thing, and if I can add to it, to these offensive coordinators and head coaches that can't make a decision on who the guy is, they got to understand, like I said earlier, the quarterback handles the ball 100% of the time. He could not go out on that field second guessing himself. What were some of the things that Eddie, when he chose you as his coach, as his quarterback, that you guys were able to have that relationship?
Well, let me tell you, I'm going all the way back to my freshman year. My redshirt freshman year, when I became quarterback, and I was 13, we played up in Shreveport. Joe Como was starter. Joe Como threw 30-something interception the year before, but he was a senior. So Coach Rob, hey, we're gonna go with this senior. It wasn't about where you go, or what have you. And unfortunately, Joe Como broke his wrist, and Terry Brown from Shreveport, Louisiana, Captain Shreve came in. He was the blue chip recruit the same year I came out. So I was redshirt. Terry went on. And Terry couldn't move the team against Tennessee State. And Coach Rob said, "Where that William boy?" So I went in and we ended up winning the game like 21-6. And from that day on, I became a starter. But going back to that first game up in Shreveport, I did not play. And to be honest with you, I quit the team. The next day. I quit the team. I say because my spring practice, I thought I had better practice than all of them in spring. But I wasn't playing. So I told him I wasn't playing. So I'm up in the room watching the Big Valley. And Coach Harvey, who was the basketball coach, also one of the assistant coaches, came up to my room and asked me what the hell I'm doing up here. And I told him, I said, "Coach, I quit." He said, "Hell, you can't quit. Get your behind out of here." So I went down on the field halfway through practice, and I thought I was going to do a Dwayne Thomas on them all. Dwayne Thomas didn't speak. Right. So I went down halfway through practice, and I ain't say nothing to nobody. But it was a rude awakening, though, Johnny, because what happened, nobody said anything to me. And I realized that by me not saying anything to anybody else wasn't going to help me. So I went to eat, and he sent a coach up there for me. Coach Rob did. So he came and got me. Coach Sterling came and got me. I went down there. Coach Rob was still in the stadium. And I'm sitting there, and he looked at me. He said, "Hell, Cat, you can't quit. Hell, you ain't going to leave here and come back and beat me." So, so he told me, he said, "Hell, the only reason why you ain't playing," and this really threw me for a loop. He said, "Hell, the only reason why you ain't playing because, hell, if you get in there, them other boys ain't going to get a chance to play." So I'm looking dumbfounded now. He said, "If I get in there, they ain't going to play. What you want, coach?" Right. But 4 games later, I ended up going in, and from that time on, I was a starter for the next 3.5 years.
Yeah. I, one of the things I just add to the 2 quarterback system, it kind of guards. It's like guardrails for the head coach and the offensive coordinator. It's saying, all right, I'm playing quarterback A. Oh, it ain't working. It ain't working. Well, let me put quarterback B. Well, it ain't working. It ain't working. Instead of them looking at themselves, they look at the two quarterbacks. So the fan wise is like, oh, okay, it's the two quarterbacks. They don't have two quarterbacks that can play. I just disagree. I mean, you know, and I know. I mean, just last night, if you watched the Monday night game, Minnesota with J.J. McCarthy, his first three quarters was horrible.
Horrible, yeah.
He come back to fourth quarter. Now they ready to name him all pro. But
Well,
but he got the team behind him and he got the coach behind him. Was able for him to settle in.
yeah, you look at that game, you know, for a young quarterback like that, he had his running game started working. And he threw that first pass to Jefferson. His confidence went way up because Jefferson at that time was a little confused. He wasn't getting the ball, and, you know, and the kids started throwing the ball, and all of a sudden now he feel like he can do that every week, and that's what you want in your quarterback. You know, the coach got to be able to take whatever happens during this game to say that I'm the one responsible for it, even if the quarterback don't play well. If you watch him in practice, you know there's a difference between 1 and 2. I don't care how you cut it up.
Right.
You know, it's hard to say we're gonna play a 2 quarterback system because 2 ain't gonna never play like 1 from your standpoint, because you know what 1 do every day in practice, and 2 just come in and take over where 1 left off. But no, you can't play 2 quarter. I can't. I don't think I could coach with 2 quarterbacks though.
Now, Coach, you executive of Washington Commanders. You watch film on quarterbacks, and I'm pretty sure all the other 31 teams does it too. You know, what is it? What would you tell a kid now? Can he go to HBCU, do a great job like McNair and Willie Todd and yourself, and play in the NFL, or does he need to go to the big time school?
Well, you know, I'm gonna be honest, Johnny. You know, when you look at the landscape of the HBCU, you got some HBCU who really does a great job, and you got some that don't do a good job. But I think if you got a player and you dominate the conference that you're playing in, you know, it's hard for a scout. I'm gonna tell you, it's hard for a scout not to recognize that. And because I know we sat in the room and you look at different quarterbacks, they play well, but at the end of the day, they want to know who they had it factor. It's something about the it factor that makes a difference. When you see a guy who made the conference and not only the conference, the opponents that they play, because you know you're gonna play outside the opponent too. So you play some not the big one. I'm not talking about Ohio State and places like that, but you play the high 1AA and low Division I school, and you dominate. Like the kid at Alabama State. You know, I don't know how big that kid is or what he do, but he got something special because he went up there to UAB, and you know what? Whether he had HBCU, whether he had UAB, or whether he had University of South Florida, I think he would be able to play the same way he's playing now.
Yeah, yeah. He about 6'2", about 200 pounds.
Right.
When you coach your quarterbacks as well. What is important to you when you're coaching them quarterbacks? Understanding the X's and O's of the game, understanding, down and distance, or the physical attributes of what he got. If he got a strong arm, if he not. I know you have Bruce Eugene. I mean, he set it on fire, Coach. I mean, he set it on fire. I know we battled a whole bunch. We had Darnell Kennedy at the time. Shit, we probably went through for 800 yards between us.
Combined, you're right.
Combined. What is it about your style or what you see when you're coaching the quarterback that maybe somebody listening to it can help?
I was fortunate at Grambling. Early on, I had to shove the quarterback by 2 or 3 guys trying to find that guy. And then Bruce came along, and then I had Randy Hines, them 2 guys. And in the game we played you all, matter of fact, my wide receiver, Ellis Spears, got hurt. And I moved Randy Hines from quarterback to wide receiver and put Bruce Eugene in the quarterback. That's how blessed I was because both of them could play. And Bruce, let me say about Bruce. Bruce Eugene is unfortunate, man. that Bruce Eugene is not playing in the National Football League because Bruce was sharp, he was smart, and he had arm talent. He could throw the ball any way you wanted to be thrown, overhand, side arm, underhand. He could get it there, and he was a decent athlete. You know, Bruce is the kind of guy that you want on your team, but he also was I always call him a Philadelphia lawyer. He knew everything. He didn't know how to just sit there and just listen to exactly what you're saying. He was always want to be a step ahead of you, rather than going along with what's going on. But it's hard if you got a quarterback. His job, the most important thing about a quarterback, he got to know one thing. Number one, he got to be tough because it's gonna be some time you're gonna get your behind knocked up, but you got to get up. Don't blame nobody. Get up, dust off, pat the lineman on the behind. If you throw a bad pass, you threw a bad pass. If your receiver dropped the pass, he dropped the pass. Don't ever. My thing is I always say, don't ever point your finger downfield at somebody else. You got people watching you. And the first thing they're gonna say, "Oh, that's his fault." You don't want that. Whatever blame it is, you take that blame. And the other part, you got to know everything that is happening from a receiver standpoint, and even the offensive line. You better know who's blocking for you and where they're coming from. That's to me, that's key. If a quarterback can do all that, and he can throw the football and know where to throw it and when to throw it, I think he got a chance. But all that's a lot to deal with, and it's hard to get one of them all the time, John. You get a guy got some of it, but it's hard to get one that got it all.
Well, yeah, well, you coach some great ones, Coach. You won two Black College National Championships with both of them.
Yeah.
What, Coach? I was reading off some of your stats before Rocky started talking about you better than me and all that kind of stuff. But when you go out and look for a quarterback or recruit a quarterback, what's important to you when you go try to find one?
But number one, especially when I was in college, the most important thing is you want to know how smart the guy is, number one. You want to know, do he go to class? Do he want to graduate? What he want to do? You don't want him to just come to play football and not go to class. 9 out of 10, you're gonna get in trouble with that guy. But a guy like that, like right now, there's a guy at Grambling, Brandon Logan, who's working at Grambling. I recruited Brandon as a quarterback. And Brandon was smart. But when I got there, I had Bruce Eugene, I had Brandon, and I moved Brandon to safety. And I knew how smart he was. He went over there and he played safety. These two guys played quarterback. But you want a guy that's smart enough to know what you want as a coach. I remember when I played with Coach Rob, after my freshman year, Coach would call a play, and the way we call a play was, I don't know, in that wing T was always in sync with something else, pass plays, reverse, and all that. I knew what Coach was going to call before he sent it in. Wow. I used to just wave him off because I knew where his mind was. We was in the 28 series. We're going to run the 25. We're going to run the 28 sweep. We're going to give it to the wing back, the tailback going back the other way, and we're going to throw the 28 pass. I knew everything he was thinking. Yeah. So you want a quarterback who almost on the same page that you are when you sit there and you talk about the game plan and what we got to do and things like that, and what, think about the down, the distance. Don't just go out there with your mind say, let's just play the game and don't know what you're fighting for. If you don't know what it's 3rd and 2 and you thinking it's, 2nd and 10, that's crazy. You want to know what you can get. You want to keep the chains moving. That's the most important thing. Yeah. When you got a shot, take a shot. But other than that, let's keep the football. If we're going to run the football, let's run it. You got to be able to mix it all in.
Yeah. I two more questions. I know I'm going to turn you. I know they biting at the bit to get at you. How much do the spread offense, I just think it has hurt the quarterback position. Of course, you don't do the 3-step drop, the 5-step drop, the 7-step drop. You don't come out and read the coverage. You come out and find a guy who you're going to throw the ball off of. I know the spread offense also makes the defense soft because you're bubble screening. There's no power really in the game. It's inside zone, outside zone. How you feel about the spread offense, and as far as I don't think it contribute or help the quarterback, nor does it help the defense.
Well, I always wanted to play with a tight end and a running back who can run the football. I'll be honest with you, I know I threw the ball and with Bruce and all that, I looked over And I thought about how many times Bruce was averaging about 60 throws a game. And when I played, it was 20. I threw 25 times average on a game. That's a lot of passes, man. But everybody went to the pass, and the other part of it, we had good receivers. So my thing was I got to take advantage of what I have. But I also had decent running back. My tight end didn't catch a lot of passes, but he did a lot of blocking, and that's what I wanted him for. So, but
I remember, Coach, when you went no back with your tight end and your ran counter with the damn quarterback.
Yeah, because I had a quarterback who's big enough and who could run, especially Randy Hines could run. And when you got it open like that, nobody looking for the quarterback to run. But you know what? You can surprise people like that. It just so happened that's the offense that a lot of people are running now, and you gotta go with it most of the time because you got those kind of athletes. It's hard to get a tight end now, Johnny. You know that. It's hard to find a tight end. It's hard to find a fullback. You might have one back, but it's hard to find a fullback. So you almost gotta open it up a little bit. And tight ends don't block no more, so you got to get a receiver tight end. And every now and then get in and hope he can block somebody. But that's basically what you're playing with.
Yeah. Now, Coach, you played in the wing T. And sometimes people don't understand a lot of stuff that you do. Ain't nothing really new if you started back at the wing T. So y'all still 2x2 in the wing T, fullback in the back, and you still do your zone, your belly with the reverse. Some folks I think don't understand that the spread ain't nothing but sometime a wing T with just everybody spread it out.
Right. Well, the wing T, Coach, I'm going to tell you what Coach Rob told me one day. Oklahoma at that time had all these running backs, and they was running the wishbone and all that. I remember going and sitting in Coach Robinson's office, and I said, Coach, why we don't why we don't open it up, or why we don't run the wishbone? I said, why? He said, hell, Cat, let me show you something. He got on the board, right? And he drew like a football field, and he put up the wing T. You got two tight ends, you got a wing, tailback, and a fullback, and you got a quarterback. He said, hell, Cat, you got more room outside than you got in there. Hell, take advantage of it. And the way we call plays, we did, because, we had this one pass, 28 pass, where you gave the extra receiver option. You can go boom corner, you can go in like a fake post corner and go back to the post. So we scored a lot of TDs on that. Then we had the 25 takeoff with Sammy White going out and up on the right side. So you start doing that, and you realize that football is football. Nobody's going to invent nothing. It all depends on what you're running. And our wing T, we ran a misdirection. That's basically what it was.
Right.
You turn around this way and you hand it to the tailback going back the other way. You turn this way, tailback going back this way. Tight end pulling, tackle pulling, blocking down. That's basically what we did. It's all football. Coach Rob used to always say it's blocking and tackling. If you can do that, you can win football game.
I know talking to a lot of defensive coordinators, they said, just read the guard. That's where the play going. Just read the guard.
You know what? They right, though. Let me tell you this. The only team that really gave us fits, to be honest with you, was Alcorn. And I remember my senior year, they knew Coach Rob and Coach Casman had coached against each other for years. And Coach Casman knew every time that when that left guard pick up and move, he said, just follow that guard. Hit the guard, just follow the guard. And when we played in my senior year, we didn't even worry about that because we threw the football. I think I threw for about 400-something yards because they played 3 deep, man to man, all over the field, and we started running them crosses and stuff like that. They couldn't keep up with us. But now if you run the ball, they're gonna be right on the guard's tail. They were right about that.
My last question, I'm gonna turn it over to my counterparts, Coach. I'm not big on the celebrity coaches. I think it's a place for them. I think my guys are right. It is a place for them. I do get it with the 2 that's going to Norfolk where, the band playing and the music and people come out to see these guys. But looking at you, looking at Sam Shade, most of the guys that come from the NFL that actually go through the chain, just like you did high school, small college and move through. How much do you think that's important to do it that way or jump from the NFL or because I was in the NFL, into a head position.
It's unfortunate. I think what we're dealing with, a bunch of these presidents who wants to, I guess looking at the celebrity standpoint. I'm a firm believer there's a lot of coaches out there that had coached at black colleges that deserve an opportunity that don't get those opportunities. I'm not saying the guys can't coach who come from the NFL, but I think as a learning process when you just walk in there, like Dion coached in high school. I'm gonna give Dion the benefit of the doubt. He coached in high school. He coached his kid in high school, so he had been coaching. Michael Vick did intern at a couple of the NFL teams. And he's from Norfolk area, so that was big for Norfolk. Deshaun Jackson, Alabama, I'm gonna say Delaware State. I don't know what that was exactly about, but they gave him a job. But you got to look at what's gonna happen down the road, the win and losses. And the other thing, you just can't come into a HBCU and say I want to coach, because a lot of things that you're not gonna get. And if you went there, you've been around it, you understand that part. And a lot of these coaches will never understand it. Eddie George did a decent job at Tennessee State, but Tennessee State has turned out to be a kind of different HBCU. They got a big body of white kids that go to school there. It's a little different. And now Eddie's at Bowling Green, so that's the opportunity that they got. But I'm sure if Michael Vick does a good job, if Deshaun do a good job, I know Mike, if he do a good job, he probably gonna elevate to maybe a low 1AA or what have you, like Willie Simmons did, at FIU, schools like that.
Yeah. One question from our audience. It says, can you ask Doug? He think he and Jimmy Giles would get into the NFL Hall of Fame.
You're talking about something you don't have no control over. Number one. And I do think Jimmy Giles deserved to be in the Hall of Fame. The unfortunate thing now, tight end, the way the voters look at tight ends now, it's not conventional tight ends anymore. It's pass catching tight ends. Jimmy Giles could get you to the edge. He can block down. He can get you to the corner, and he can run and catch passes. Jimmy's about a 4'6" guy. He should be in the Hall of Fame. As far as myself, I can't speak on that. That's going to be up to the people who make those decisions.
Go ahead, Rob.
Oh man,
Appreciate
it's been great just sitting here listening to you and Coach Cole have a conversation about quarterbacks and a lot of things about team building and stuff like that. One of the things that I want to ask you is, you played for a guy in the pros who actually won Super Bowls with multiple quarterbacks. You were a coach who won championships with multiple quarterbacks. I just want to ask you a question. How much is a quarterback's performance dependent on how well he's developed and how well he's coached?
Well, Coach Gibbs had 3 different quarterbacks, and just this past year, Coach Gibbs has a dinner all the time, and this is the first time that the 3 of us have ever been together on the same stage, along with Coach Gibbs. And the one thing Coach Gibbs said about his quarterbacks, and I said the same thing earlier, that you got to be one of the toughest guys on the field. Not so much from getting hit, but there's a lot of things gonna come your way that you got to take the blame for and stuff like that. And it's the same way that, I try to do my guy. I try to take what I learned from playing for Coach Robinson, Coach Gibbs, and understanding that it's about the character of the guy. And that's what I try to do. The people that play for you has good character, what have you, especially quarterback. You want the quarterback to be a stand-up guy. You don't want that guy running with the receivers, think you one of the boys. And at the end of the day, you one of the boys, but you can't do what they do. You can't run with the defensive backs. Them divas, man, you can't run that. You got to be the leader of the football team. And I think that's the most important thing about playing that position.
It's funny that you mentioned that. I've been watching the Jerry Jones documentary and America's Team and the Gambler. And one of the things that was documented in that documentary was Jimmy Johnson and Aikman had almost like a rift at a point to where it kind of broke down their relationship until Jimmy Johnson and him began to communicate and begin to see the game and how teams are built through the same lens. I'm gonna ask you this as a coach and as a player: how important is that quarterback-coach relationship to the overall team success?
Well, I know at this level it's big, because I watch Jaden and I watch Jaden with Dan Quinn and his offensive coordinator. He comes in early. He called and make sure that they there at 6 o'clock in the morning. So they got a great relationship, and Dan Quinn got great relationship. So I think it's important that they build that relationship because there's gonna be time when you're gonna ask the quarterback what you think, and he's gonna give you what he think, and you got to give him what he wants. Especially at this level. At college level, it's a little different. You got to make sure that you give him what he needs, not so much what he wants, and that he can work with. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, one of the things that I want to piggyback off, Lionel Taylor,
Oh
Doug,
yeah, bless his soul.
one of the greats, man. And Rocky, that's what he done for us. It wasn't like, we had a great relationship, but when
Right.
it came to the damn game, and when he punished or wanted to be up there at 5 in the morning, you know, we just built that relationship. And like Doug say, and I said earlier, the quarterback got to be able to make mistakes, be able to explain the mistakes. And if he's explaining the mistakes, they got to be football answers.
Right.
Not like,
Exactly.
I just seen him open. No,
No.
linebacker, Doug, you know that.
You got to have a reason why you saw him open.
Right. So that's important.
And this is the last question I'll have, and I'll just ever, because I think as I watch SWAC and HBCU football the last few years, sometimes it's quite difficult to understand what is actually going on. Have you ever been in the dilemma where you believed in one guy or you thought he was the guy and he just couldn't get it done on the field and you end up having to go to another guy? It seems like coaches are struggling with that. They want one guy to be the guy and he just can't get it done on the field. They end up having to go to the backup quarterback to get it done. Have you ever been in that situation, and what was your thought process in navigating that?
Well, like Johnny said earlier, I've been lucky. My first 2 years at Grambling, I was in that situation. Because I was trying to find the guy, and then Bruce Eugene and Randy Hines came along, settled that whole problem, and that's going to happen. You ain't gonna walk in a situation and say this is the guy. You got to find a way to find the guy that you think can get you over the hump. I think that's important. Number one thing for a college coach, especially at HBCU, that when you get in there, find you a good one that you can trust and you can talk to, and he understand where you're coming from.
Seems like
Rocky. Remember we were talking, and you were saying, "Well, I like this guy, but this quarterback is here." And remember, I told you, man, I'm gonna play the best guy. Doug, like he just told us tonight. Man, I like Hines, but this kid is getting it done, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with this kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Ain't no favoritism. The only favoritism is which one of them gonna make me win.
Well, I look at Michael Vick's situation that he's had his first 2 college games. He's played a guy who's immensely talented, but the offense has struggled mightily while he's in the game. He's brought in the other guy, Otto, to relieve the guy just to move the ball enough to be competitive, and they were lucky enough to win this last game. How does a coach end up in that situation? It's literally the same game replicating itself where you have to bring a guy off the bench in order to move the ball. It seems like you would be able to see that guy in practice, what he can do in the game, and make that decision coming into the game rather than having to make that decision in the middle of a game.
Well, number one, it's a little easy being what was the relief pitcher at the Yankees, Rivera?
Yeah.
It's easy coming in there to relieve him because you got nothing to lose. But I think when you hand that ball to him from the start, it's a little different. Now I don't know what Mike gonna do this week or what have you. Well, not the second team gonna be the starter, but Mike is in the same position when I said earlier. He's trying to find that guy. I'm sure he would rather have that guy than those guys, and let that guy be the backup to the guy. So he's searching too now.
I'll let Campbell go, But it seems, let me just say this last comment. It seems like a lot of times they want the quarterback to come in and be the system rather than having a system to fit the quarterback into. That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah, but you just hit the nail on the head. You can't bring somebody in and let them fit into what you're doing if they don't fit.
Right.
You can't put a square in a round peg in the hole now. Now you got to find out what he can do. And you got your system got to be built around what he can do. 9 out of 10, if you got a system, you got to have something in your system that he can do. You know, now if you run the wishbone and he's 6'4" and with a cannon and he can throw the football, you forget about the wishbone. You
That's
know,
right.
so you got to worry about who you got back there running the system.
Hey, as I would say, Doug, and you appreciate this. Hey man, recruiting is over. I got you here now.
Yeah.
That we either go get something you can fit in, or you got to fit in this. And if you don't, hey man, look, we got to win some games, man. I love you, but we got to win some football games.
But you got to get some players. You got to get some players on defense and offensive line for that quarterback too. Now, let's not forget that. Now, I don't care who the quarterback is. If you don't have those guys, you lost.
Well, Mr. Williams, looks like I get a chance to talk to you, and I appreciate you being here. As you see what I got in the background.
I like it, man. I love it.
You know, I come prepared every time you come on. I have something for you. So I want to say this was Super Bowl 22.
I like that.
The legendary Sports Illustrated cover that sold out in all of Black America. Now, I want to start off something light. Just how many of these do you still have, and how many of them did you have to sign when they came out?
Well, you know, I've signed a lot of them at these autograph shows, but you know, I got it down in my house in Louisiana. I just got one up in the trophy case.
Wow,
that's all I need is one.
Just one.
Yeah,
because I literally still have the Sports Illustrated. And so when the next time you come to Atlanta for the HBCU Hall of Fame, I'm going to make sure that I get you to sign it, because
I will.
All I know is, and this is the thing for us young folks, we didn't have the internet back then. You had to wait until the mail ran. And my mother was like, listen, go to the Kroger and get every one of them. For me, your aunt, your mama, and everybody. Now, these are Jackson State folks now that wanted to make sure that we had these Sports Illustrated.
Well, you know what? I've seen so many of those. You're talking about 37 years ago. And I've signed so many of those things that's in perfect condition. It's amazing. 37 years, man, when you see that. And
hey, you Martin Luther King and Malcolm X are in every household.
What about Obama, man?
He might have done something to make it too.
Hey, what you say? He up there with Kennedy, Martin Luther King, and Doug.
There you go.
Now, Rushmore.
Now, let me ask you a question, because Coach asked a lot of great questions about Blake. I'm going to actually switch it, because you're going to understand something. So I know this HBCU show, but I want to talk about the black quarterback, because you said something that triggered me about you didn't want your quarterback to point and basically show up a guy. Now, you've got a young man, I'm pretty sure you're familiar, Bryce Underwood, $12 billion quarterback in Michigan. And, of course, they showed him on the sideline getting into it. So what I would like to ask you, and this is going to be a bigger question, you got him, DJ Lagway, Lenore Southern, South Carolina, guys that are making a lot of money, that are black quarterbacks. You saw Shador. Now you, and like I say, Doug, it's very well chronicled that you felt that you were underpaid. You felt that there were things that, politics that were done. What would you tell these young black quarterbacks because of now of the NIL, the money that they're making, but they also have to get to the NFL? Because we heard a lot of things about Shador. Did he come on time? Did he wear headphones and things like that? What would you tell these black quarterbacks? And this goes to, again, HBCU quarterbacks that have potential, but you going through, what would you tell these young black quarterbacks that are not getting a lot of money, they're being judged because they get a lot of money, and what would you explain to them by being a leader in a team like that? What would you tell those guys?
Well, when I came out, you had to be you had to be humble, number one. If you're going to play in the league, you got to be humble. And even today, even with 16 starting, if you're a black quarterback, no matter what school you go to, if you come in the league, you still got to be humble, because you know what? It don't take much to unhumble you, because this is the National Football League. We don't own a team yet. They own them. So there's a way you got to come in there, because at the end of the day, I promise you, none of these owners, now they'll love you to death if you come in, you could play, and that's all you want. You want to make as much money as you could and get out. After that, you don't care what they think of you. But get the money first. So you got to come in with idea that, I'm going to be humble and do my job. I'm going to play well. I'm going to play for a long time. I'm going to get paid. And after that, it's over with. And I think that's the most important thing. You can't come in and thinking you're going to change the landscape of that man's team. That's his team. You come in, he brought you in there just like everybody else. I mean, you the quarterback, he's gonna give you a little more sugar because you are the quarterback. I watch our owners all the time, man. When Jaden Mama out there, they talk to Jaden Mama. When Jaden come around, hey, they gonna give him the sugar because why? Jaden is important to this organization, and he knows it, but he handles it so much different. You would never know that he's Jaden Daniels the way he carries himself. And see, if everybody came in, I know everybody's not gonna be like that. He didn't come in here and say, I'm going to brand myself. I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that. He's Jaden Daniels. But even when I met him in 2018, he was the same guy. And I think that's important when you carry yourself like that, to make the difference in this team. Dak Prescott is another prime example. Dak make a lot of money, $60 million a year. He didn't make $60 million a year because he come in here all high and mighty and letting you know this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. That ain't where you do it. You get the money.
Who'd you just say, Mr. Williams?
Dak Prescott.
Dak Prescott.
You know
we're not about to do this Cowboy fandom.
He's a Cowboy fan.
I just used him because they didn't win that night, but I just used
him. now, Doug, I want to ask you, so moving forward, I want to know how this now, because again, you have such a great perspective. Again, you played during a time when there were no black quarterbacks, where you had to really work your way. Now we've got 16. But I want to talk because we have a lot of people that watch the show, and that is a fan because he started with us, Shedeur Sanders. So you saw all the social media that was around it. Should he have gotten drafted in the first round? It wasn't fair. He did not let him get all the reps and things like that. And he still went about his business. Now he's on the team. The depth chart is the depth chart. What would you, if he called you and say, hey, Mr. Williams, what do I need to do to be and have a long career like you? What would you tell Shedeur based off what you've seen from all the outside noise and all the people talking? What would you tell Shedeur based off his situation right now?
Well, let me say this. Shedeur is with a team in the National Football League. And I can't talk about that.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I was just going.
Well, let me ask you. Well, let me flip it this way.
No, he called me. That's between him and I, but I can't.
Right. No, I tell you. So let me ask you a question. If in the social media era, right, and a lot of things that come, what would you tell a player how to handle that going forward to come to the pros and things like that, and how to focus on that? How about that?
Well, number one, let me say this: in social media, everything they put out there, we got 3 books, 2 books. We got a red book and we got a blue book. The red book is for all the guys that's been injured that's in the draft. I mean, they got all the records on everybody. Then now the blue book is character. And if you're on social media, I can promise you this, they got it. They're going to read everything you put out there. And that's why it's so important, man. You got to be careful with what you put out there because you can't take it back once it's out there. And they look at stuff like that. You'd be surprised how many guys that didn't get drafted or who got drafted a lot later than they expected because of what was in the blue book. Because it's $1 billion. It used to be $1 million industry. It's $1 billion in industry now, and they're not going to lose their money on a guy with character that are questionable. So that's how they do it.
Now, Doug, is it a such thing as good social media out there, like a kid showing his family?
Oh yeah. I mean, like I say, they got it. I don't care where you talk about your sister, your brother, your accolades and all that. That's fine. But when you start using the N-word and this and that and talking about women and stuff like that, I promise you they got it all.
You know something that as you bring that up, right? There are a lot of things I'll say this as a in your day that if you had cornrows or an afro, do you think you would have been drafted as high as you were?
No, not at all. No.
So okay, now you have a guy like Jaden Daniels who does who does wear long hair, unconventional hairstyle, but he has impeccable character, impeccable football character, and impeccable personal character. In your recruiting or evaluation process, how do you separate those things now? Where guys were in our day, guys were labeled for having maybe a questionable hairstyle, maybe even some tattoos or something like that. How do you guys manage that now?
Yeah, it's all about the character, how he carry himself. They're not going to talk about his looks and all that. You know, no matter what he has on his head, whatever he got on his shoulders, if he got great character and can play the game, that's the most important thing. It's not about that. When I came out, it was a whole different because people characterize you how you look back then. You know, if I'd have came out, but they wasn't wearing dreads back then. If I'd have came out with dread, my chance of going the first round would have been slim and none. And might not even got in the league. You know, you never know. But times have changed now. You know, I look at the kid in Tennessee, you know, Ward. You know, he probably had one of the best press conferences that I've seen, how humble he was. He reminded me of LeBron James. You know.
Now, Coach, one of the things I wanted to ask you now what you brought that back, as you look at the landscape and you're looking at your beloved SWAC, what do you think the SWAC needs to do when they're not? Your team was the one that would go win out of conference games, like you say. Eddie Robinson play anybody, anytime, any place, but you don't see that level now where we can win out of conference games. With unfortunately, Prairie View lost to Rio Grande Valley that just stepped up. Alcorn lost to a Northwestern State that had lost 22 in a row. What would you like to see from the SWAC overall to improve the talent, to improve the ability? Because I know you always are looking for kids, and you say that book, you're always looking for kids from your conference to, like I said, which we know, hey, Mr. Excitement, Marquette, I know you brought him up there to give him a shot. So what are you looking for and hope the conference would improve on to, improve their play?
Number one, it's about players. And first of all, I got my take on what's going on now in HBCU. And have my same take on it with the NIL and all that. First of all, let's be real. We ain't getting no NIL money. All right, that's number one. And when you got these coaches going into the portal, is the reason why they sitting there ain't got nowhere to go in the portal. So you go in there and get a guy that's been sitting there for 6 or 7 months, ain't got nowhere to go. So you bring them in, kill the culture of your whole team because now you got 30 transfers. And they play football, and when the football's over, they gone. You know, my thing is I always say that if I had a job, which I ain't want nothing to do with it right now. But if I was to take a job now, and knowing that, I'm just getting there and the program is down, you know what you do? You go out and get some young guys who want to play. They may not be 4 stars or 5 stars, but you got some 2 stars out there, got nowhere to go. You go out there and get you some linemen, some athletes. You can find athletes anyway. I don't care how you cut it up. And you come in and you let them play. Take your lumps the first year, take your lumps second year, but they going to grow up. And now if you want to add a transfer here and there, that's a different. But the foundation is the most important thing. And I think that's what we missing now is the foundation of your football team.
How important was that G-man? Because we hear about that G-man culture, a Grambling man. When you speak about that, and when I was down at Grambling, sponsored Grambling, what I was most amazed about is how the players would come back and to your point, identify a guy in their town or city or that they coach and say he could be a G-man. Talk about what that culture and what that really meant as you speak about that.
First of all, you know where Grambling is located, right?
I'm X81, absolutely.
He got to be one of them persons who can live in the country. He can live around that red clay. And enjoy it and be glad in it, I think it takes a special person sometimes to go to Grambling and stay. And just like coaches, you got to have a coach who want to be there. Not just that because it's a job or a stepping stone. If you get a chance to go somewhere, that's fine. But you got to love Grambling, the G. That's how I feel. I'm sure a lot of people who went that field, but it's unfortunate. It's, me and Shaq Harris, we talk all the time about this. That field is not there anymore because you don't have the culture. You don't have them guys who grew up in it, the foundation. You're just guys who coming in and getting out. So they don't understand the culture that we call it hollow ground. They don't understand the people who came before us, the Willie Brown, the Bud Buchanan and Willie Davis and Charlie Jonas and James
Everson
Harris.
Walls.
Yeah, all of them. They don't understand that.
Now,
You talk, huh?
I just want to piggyback, and I want you to keep on going. They call me old school, because I don't forget them days, what I mean? The SWAC tour and all that. And you're just kind of tell the audience how important is, how do you move forward when you forget the past? The past is moving you forward.
And then plus, you have to understand this too at the HBCU. There's a reason why they started the HBCU, because we couldn't go to their school. So you got to take that, man. That's passion. You got to have passion about the HBCU. So you got to cherish the culture that was built at HBCU. But now, they don't think as much about it. You get the presidents who, they don't know anything about it. You bring in AD, don't give a shit about it. Excuse my friend. Don't give one hoop about it. They went to one school, now they just AD, they job, they tell you how to run it. So you forget about what HBCU really meant to us. I mean, I'm old school, Johnny old school. It's gonna always be to us what it's been. But the young guys who coming in and making all these decisions, they forget about that, and they don't want to talk to nobody about it. They don't want to ask anybody about it, how we go about doing it. So that's what we're dealing with.
Hey, Coach Williams, you mentioned something about taking your lumps a couple years before you see the fruits of your labor. One of the things that, since I've been watching HBCU sports pretty heavy the last 5 years, coaches don't get 3 years, Coach Williams. So if a guy takes lumps his first year, takes lumps his second year, he in the unemployment line by the time his third year come along.
If a new coach goes somewhere that the program been down and don't sign a 4-year contract or a 5-year contract, that's on him. And you got to let the administration and AD know this is where we are. Now we want to get up here, but it's going to be rough. It's going to be tough. In a couple of years, we're going to have to live with this. When I first went to Grambling in '98, we finished 5-6, but the program has been 3-8 for 2 straight years. 5-6 was improving. Next year we went 7-4. The next year we went on the run. So they got to give you that respect to say, okay, this is how we're gonna do it, and they got to bear with you.
Now, Coach, I got two guys. I got Emmett Jones who watches this all the time, and you don't have to answer this because this is. I got a few questions for Doug Williams. If you will, please ask Doug Williams about the politics at Grambling, the internal infighting. Why did he leave Grambling twice, and why was Favre fired? Now I know, but you don't have to answer, Coach, if you don't want to. But let me say that. I'm gonna say this. On your 25th anniversary of winning the Super Bowl, you were let go after, was it the second or the third game?
After the second game.
Instead of them putting together a fundraiser, Rocky and Mr. Campbell, they get rid of the first black quarterback instead of having the biggest fundraiser that you can have on his 25th anniversary. So, as the politics of Grambling, we pivoting.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.